Now, ever since the wordless side story was released, there's been this discussion in the Nikke community of if Yuni deserved her fate, like if she deserved the punishment of being experimented by Jian and turned into that half Nikke, half Rapture thing that we see her during the side story, right? And I find it difficult to side with either side of this discussion, especially as a Uni fan, because on one side of the aisle, we have the people who genuinely believe that she deserved her fate. And those people, they cannot be argued with. Like, if anyone tries to disagree with this take that Uni deserved it, especially if they are a Uni fan saying that, these people will accuse them of, at best, either only being angry because they are horny and frustrated that they can't look at Yuni's ass anymore, or at worst, genuinely comparing the people making the argument that Yuni didn't deserve it to unironic red shoes defenders. Like those people that genuinely argue that red shoes did nothing wrong, right? The equivalent of Griffith's defenders from the Berserk fanbase. And while I participated in enough internet discussions to know at this point that there is no use arguing with these people, that no matter what I say, they will not be convinced otherwise, to the reasonable people in the audience that do not lean to any side of the aisle, who don't have a strong opinion either way on this discussion, let me clarify why Uni fans like me actually think that Uni did not deserve her fate. And that's simply due to the unfairness of her punishment in comparison to other people involved in the Ark Invasion event, like Crow or Viper or even Jacko. Like, all these people are directly involved and responsible for that event even happening in the first place. Not only that, but none of these characters show any remorse or feel guilty or regret what they did at all. Not even Jacko, not even Viper, who at the end tries to help out the commander. Like, it's explained that the only reason why Viper even betrays Crow at the end is just because she's horny for the commander. She doesn't really regret any of what she did, any of her part in all the deaths that are happening right now. She doesn't care. She literally was only convinced to do the right thing because she was horny, essentially. And all these people, especially Crow, which is the most directly involved, the person who genuinely orchestrated and directly wanted and worked towards doing that, none of them are severely punished. Viper and Jacko pretty much go unpunished despite their very clear and direct involvement, and even Crow, the one who actually is responsible for the event again even happening in the first place, the mastermind, gets at most a slap in the wrist. Meanwhile, Yuni, a person who was manipulated into doing it, who legitimately felt bad and legitimately regretted her actions, like a person who only did what she did due to her very understandable and genuinely distressing situation. A person who was manipulated into doing what she did and had at best a secondary role in the whole incident. That's the person that received the absolute worst punishment out of anyone else. And that's why people don't think Yuni deserved her fate. Like, people don't argue that At least from what I've seen, most, even like Yuni fans, don't argue like, oh, Yuni did nothing wrong. No, she did a lot of things wrong. No matter what circumstances like she was in, it was wrong of her to do what she did, and she even acknowledges it. Again, she's the only one who shows any remorse for any of that. Like, she sinned and she deserved to be punished. That's not the point. The reason people actually think that Yuni didn't deserve her fate is because she and she alone like was given such a harsh punishment, despite being possibly the least bad person out of any of those involved. So it's not a matter of, oh, she did nothing wrong, she shouldn't be punished. No, the point is that she shouldn't be punished so much more than the people who actually were directly involved with the incident. That's what people argue. It's unfair. That's why people argue that she didn't deserve her fate. However, as I alluded to at the beginning, I also can't completely side with Uni fans on this, specifically because like most of them argue that this is a result of bad writing, that Shift Up just wanted an excuse to have this tragic story with Yuni and Mihara and took whatever excuse, no matter how nonsensical, to do it. And I do not agree. Because what you need to remember is that while Yuni's judgment is unfair from a human perspective, like the arc's judges aren't human. In fact, their main judge, Enoch, is a machine that operates exclusively on objective factors. Like, she doesn't see nuance, she doesn't see extenuating circumstances, she doesn't see justice, like blind justice, no matter like the position of the person. She only acknowledges the objective facts when making her judgments, which is why it's actually made a point that Enoch being a judge of the arc is a bad thing, that it causes a lot of problems, and that there should be a genuine discussion on if it's even a good idea to keep her as the judge or not. Because, for example, during the License to Kill event, like, it's directly stated that if a big CEO or like a person in power were to commit even a heinous crime, like let's say they literally, I can't say that on YouTube, but let's say they essayed like one of their co-workers, right? One of the people that's working for them. Like, by Enix's logic, they wouldn't be punished for that. Because if that CEO was punished, this could result in a huge financial loss for the Ark. Like, their company would have to be shut down. A lot of people would lose their jobs. Like, a lot of bad things would happen as a result of that. And so she wouldn't condemn this rich person, no matter how abominable what they did was. Because she only sees the objective factors when making her decisions, which is why no matter how heinous like what Siwen does throughout the story is, she's never really punished, exactly because her position is so important that Enoch can't do anything to her. And so from that perspective, it actually makes a lot of sense that Yuni got that punishment despite how unfair it was, because let's see this from the perspective of Enoch, of a machine. If only like Crow and Vipers and even Jackal's part had been executed, like the Ark would have sustained damages, but very few people would have died, especially because despite what they did, the situation was mostly under control during the Ark invasion. Like, civilians were evacuated before the Raptures actually started invading. Like, Nikkes were deployed. Exactly 2 areas like that were sure to be most affected. Exactly because, like, as heinous as what Crow and her squad did, and as directly responsible as they are for it, if only their parts had been like executed, very few people would have actually died, which explains why they got such a minor punishment, such a slap on the wrist. But what Yuni did is that she took this situation that was under control for the most part and she made it worse. She made people panic and leave the designated safe areas, and that's what resulted in a lot more deaths than there would have been otherwise. Again, from our perspective, we can see that like there are a bunch of extenuating circumstances here. She was under emotional and mental distress. She was being genuinely abused. She was manipulated into doing that. Her part was mostly secondary, and she was more of an accomplice and not the main criminal. In fact, she wouldn't have done any of what she did if Crow didn't manipulate her first. But from the perspective of Enoch, she only sees the objective facts. She doesn't see these extenuating circumstances. She only sees that, oh, if Crow and her squad had done everything that they did, there wouldn't have been that many casualties. But thanks to Yuni, like her part specifically caused a lot of casualties. So her number of kills, let's put it that way, is way bigger than theirs, so she deserves a harsher punishment. Not only that, but Yuni directly attacked and tried to kill one of the big three CEOs, Siwen, while again the others did not. They cleared the path for her because exactly they wanted to keep their hands clean of that in another manipulative attempt to keep their hands as clean as possible even during such a massive incident. But at the end of the day, like it wasn't Crow or any of her cronies that tried to kill Siwen. It was Yuni. And so that stacked on top of all the other people that were directly murdered for her actions makes it so that Enique, only seeing these more objective facts, reasonably, at least from that perspective, gives her a more, like a harsher punishment. And it is unfair. That's the point. Enoch's judgments are unfair. That's one of the main points proposed by the story. And so this feeling isn't bad writing. If anything, you're supposed to feel that this punishment is unfair because it is. And again, that is the point. That is what the story is trying to say. And so, yeah, it's difficult like to agree with any of these sides because on one hand, yes, I do think that her punishment was unfair and that she didn't deserve her fate, even if again she is a criminal and I do think she needs to atone, and like I do think that she did bad things and needed to be punished for them. That was fair. I think the actual punishment that was given in comparison to the people more directly responsible was unfair, but I can't for the life of me agree that this is bad writing. In fact, I hard disagree with that. So that's my conclusion. Did Yuni deserve her fate? From my view, no. And that's the point. That's why that story is so brilliant. But what did you think? Do you think that the Yuni deserved her fate? Like, is your opinion that she deserved her fate and the other people simply deserved much worse, like even worse than what happened to her? Or do you agree with me? Or do you even disagree? Like, do you not think that she deserved her fate? And do you really think that it was bad writing? Like, I look forward to hearing your opinions about this in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to having this discussion with the rest of the community, especially after giving my opinion through this video. And that will be it for today. If you like this video, please do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, etc. And I genuinely do hope to see you next time. If you really liked it, I'd also really appreciate if you could support me financially, either through a one-time paid comment donation or by joining my membership, where for $1 a month, you get to participate in exclusive polls in order to decide which videos I'll make next. Like, which of my plans should I focus on? Which of the content I have in mind do you want to see first? That kind of thing. As well as get your name put in this fancy little screen right here. Just as a small gesture of appreciation, exactly for your monthly support. But of course, no matter how much you choose to give me, as well as if you choose to give me anything at all, do know that I really appreciate any cent you're willing to throw my way, as well as just the fact that you're watching this video up to this point at all. But with all that stuff out of the way, I think it's finally time to, as always, bid you guys farewell. Obscure Anime out.